Satu was a loser who overworked himself until he died at his job. However, everything changed when he woke up in a game with cheat skills that made him overpowered, so he started cracking monsters and petite baddies for sport. The story begins with Satu rushing down to catch a train to the office on Asune to finish an online video game he's been working on for months. Since the game is scheduled for release in 2 days, Satu locks in for hours and vibe codes all the necessary features of the game, including a skill that will help novice players wipe a wave of powerful monsters at the start of the game. However, all that locking in has Satu high on cortisol, so he decides to take a nap to rest up. When he wakes up, he's shocked to find himself in the game he was working on. Plus, he looks 15 years younger, which urges him to believe that he's dreaming. Just then, an army of high-ranking lizards comes charging in his direction, so he hides to avoid getting spotted. Despite that, he gets found easily, and one of the lizard folk shoots an arrow at him that mildly scratches his face. Seeing his blood up close, Satu is scared and starts questioning if this is real or not. So, as the lizards keep shooting at him, he panics and activates a meteor skill that gives the lizards the dinosaur treatment. After the meteor falls, one of the lizards survives and challenges Satu to a duel to settle their scores. Deep down, Satu assumes he's cooked because he isn't cracked enough to fight a mutated lizard who fights like Bruce Lee. As they begin their fight, Satu impulsively blocks the lizard's first attack and counters by throwing his sword at the lizard, which sends it to the afterlife. Winning the duel shocks Satu, and because this dream is too much for him to handle, he tries to find the logout button, but nothing works. After that, he notices that his injuries have healed up, so he checks his stats and realizes that he has leveled up by over 300 points, thanks to wiping out all the lizards with the meteor skill. Out of curiosity, Satu tries to test out the meteor skill to see if it's something he can always rely on. Unfortunately, despite setting his target miles away, the impact from the meteor shower catches up to him, so he runs at max speed and barely manages to avoid becoming fresh barbecue. After outrunning the blast, he deactivates the meteor skill to avoid another disaster. He then checks out all his loot and realizes he's as rich as Elon in this universe and is happy because life here will be easy. The following day, he sets out on a journey to the nearest town. On the way, he notices a wyvern flying above him. So he jumps into the sky to have a look, but the wyvern knocks him face first to the ground. After the crash, Satu notices that he didn't take any damage, and it's thanks to the fact that he leveled up a lot yesterday. When the wyvern tries to attack him again, he throws a stone at it, which causes it to fly away because it can sense Satu's strength. While the wyvern escapes, Satu notices it's headed for a group of soldiers and dashes immediately to warn them. Getting there, he sees a large army of knights and mages, working together to attack the wyvern. After the first successful wave of attack on the wyvern, a girl named Xena tries to finish it off with a wind attack, but she gets countered and blown into the sky. However, before she falls to the ground, Satu instinctively jumps and catches her like the knight in shiny armor. Grateful to have been rescued, she thanks him for saving her life and makes sure to mention that she's single. Satu is surprised by this, but then an arrow suddenly flies toward him, though he dodges it without any trouble. Xena realizes the arrow came from her teammates, who were only trying to protect her, so she tells them to stand down. Even so, they keep glaring at Satu like he's some kind of wanted criminal. With no other option, he introduces himself as a traveling merchant, but Iona immediately questions this since he doesn't seem to be carrying any goods. Realizing his mistake, since all his items are hidden away in his strange bag, Satu smoothly lies and tells her that his pack horse ran off with everything, leaving him with nothing but his coin purse. That lie ends up unlocking his trickery and persuasion skills, so he maxes them out and uses them to win Iona over, even adding that his identification papers were lost along with the cloak on his missing horse. Once that's settled, she tells him to come with her to Salyu City so he can get a proper identity card made. Along the way, Xena explains that their squad was sent to investigate the recent meteor shower, and Satu quickly realizes it was actually his fault that they ran into the wyvern in the first place. During the journey, he learns that wyvern hide is valuable, unlike the meat, which apparently tastes like wet soil and is usually only given to slaves. This gets him wondering what kind of food he'll find once he reaches the city, so he pulls up a population census through his system window and discovers that the city is home to several different races. When they finally arrive, Xena tells him she has to leave to debrief the military, though she promises to thank him later properly. Satu realizes just how stubborn she really is, noting that his younger self probably would have mistaken her attitude for her having feelings for him. Right after that, Iona takes him to an officer so he can be processed and issued a new identity card. Once everything is confirmed, he pays the required fee and receives a 10-day visa to stay in the city. The officer explains how he can extend the visa later, warning him that if it ever expires while he's still around, he'll be turned into a slave. With that taken care of, Satu thanks the officer, and once he steps outside, Iona points him toward the inns. On the way, Martha tries to pull him toward her mother's inn using her obvious charms, and when he spots Mosa, Satu admits to himself that he'd have been interested if she weren't plus-sized. He ends up paying for 10 nights and settles for cold food since he arrives so late. While Martha brags about her mother's cooking, Mosa sends her off to clean the room Satu will be staying in. Through some casual conversation, he learns about the Demon Lord and the heroes' battle that took place 60 years ago, along with the fact that dragons are surprisingly lazy compared to wyverns. As he finishes his meal, Martha returns, so he asks her where he can buy clothes and supplies, and she leads him to the market. On the way, Satu spots a man mistreating some demi-human slaves, so he steps in and helps them carry their luggage. When the slaves reunite with their elder companion, they tell her how Satu helped them, and she thanks him before they head back to their base. When Satu returns to Martha, he notices she's completely shocked that he interacted with demi-humans so casually. She explains that many humans, especially farmers, have historically been unalived by demi-humans, which is why people tend to keep their distance. As they continue shopping, Satu picks up a skill that most women are naturally born with, and he ends up buying Martha a hairpin. Seeing how happy the gift makes her, he starts to think that if he turns up his charm a little more, he could probably win her over by nightfall. She then leads him to a shop where he buys a dragon mask and a wig, the kind people use when cosplaying as legendary heroes and princesses from the past. Just then, he notices a carriage transporting slaves and spots a girl named Arisa, who seems to carry a rather troublesome title. By the time they make it back to the inn, a young assistant named Yuni greets them and lets Satu know that she's already taken his bag up to his room. Curious, Satu asks about taking a bath, but Martha explains that the only bathhouse is inside the inner walls, which commoners aren't allowed to use. Instead, they end up washing off using the well behind the inn. After that, Satu collapses onto his bed and orders some food along with a light alcoholic drink. When the food arrives, he's genuinely impressed, digging in enthusiastically and reacting like an over-the-top food critic. As he sips his drink, he notices he's gained a resistance to alcohol. After finishing everything on his plate, he orders seconds and ends up eating way more than he probably should have. Later that night, lying in bed, he reflects on how good his current life feels compared to his old job. But as he replays everything that's happened so far, he starts to notice that his experience doesn't quite line up with the games and stories he used to know. He admits to having been a huge nerd back in middle school, pointing out that even then, he never went as far as inventing his own language. He also realizes that this is the first time he's ever truly tasted something new, which makes him question whether this could really just be a dream. As the reality of his situation sinks in, he concludes that this world can't simply be a game, since if it were, he'd be able to save his progress and log out whenever he wanted. Thoroughly confused, Satu decides to head out that night and explore the city. Once he reaches the outskirts, he makes up his mind to enjoy this strange new experience, figuring that exploring the world might even help him as a game creator someday. Still, finding a way back home isn't exactly at the top of his list right now. With that thought, he heads back into the city to satisfy his curiosity a little more. The next morning, Martha wakes him up and tells him his girlfriend has come to see him. Confused, he steps outside and finds Xena waiting by the inn. He greets her with a compliment and asks what brings her around. She explains, in her usual earnest way, that she's off duty for the day and thought about showing him around the city. Satu thanks Xena for her thoughtfulness and agrees to follow her around. With that, they head to the market to check out the street food. As they continue strolling around the city, Satu uses the chance to ask Xena about her spells. Xena explains the concept of her spell, which she refers to as wind magic, to him, and how the learning process was like being taught as a youngster just starting preschool. Xena also asks why Satu is learning magic, and when he replies that it will be easier for him to use magic to bathe instead of stressing himself out about going to the bathroom, Xena bursts out laughing because she has never heard such a ridiculous reason before. Shortly after, Xena takes him to the military facility at his request, and he checks out the area. After that, Xena takes him to the city's temple, where she shows him a picture of the Demon Lord and the first hero fighting. She also tells him that the holy sword the hero used can only turn blue when handed by heroes, and the only exception is if the sword willingly accepts the person wielding it. Orna, the temple's priestess, interrupts them to talk about how it is advisable only for heroes to handle the holy sword. Xena quickly greets Orna and introduces Satu to Orna, but Orna is just glad that Xena has found herself a warm body to rescue her from singlehood. Flushed, Xena tries to explain that they are just friends, only to be interrupted by a voice calling on Orna to perform some priestess duties. Shortly after, Xena goes to bargain with a driver to take them back to the city, while Satu uses the chance to run a quick background check on himself. Surprised by his high qualities, he decides to keep it low in order not to do too much aura farming. On the way back to the city, Xena shows him an anti-dragon tower that was built specifically to shoot down any dragon that dares to reach the city's parameters. Curious, he asks if the Demon Lord controls the dragons to attack in the first place, and Xena replies that only the scarier demons control dragons. He then begins to wonder if there is any demon that doesn't look scary, only to be interrupted by voices from a crowd, and Xena lets him know that it is probably the head priest of the War Temple causing havoc. The head priest in question continues to address the crowd on how he feels the demi-humans he caught need to be stoned to death because they are demons that stop downloading at 50%. The crowd starts to stone the demi-humans, causing Xena to run to protect them. Satu then decides to make himself useful and scans the demi-humans to know more about them. While at it, he realizes that the priest is not their master but a guy named Urs, watching everything unfold from a corner where he is sitting. Xena continues to talk about how the head priest's stunt will only cause a riot, while Urs patiently waits for someone to step up and buy the demi-humans because all he wants is some cool cash. Just then, Satu taps Urs and knocks him out. After that, Satu shows Urs to the crowd as the perpetrator behind the whole issue and explains that he just wants to cause a riot for his own personal gain. A dude from the crowd then asks if Urs has been controlling the demons from the shadows too, but before Satu can reply to the confusing question, a demon suddenly erupts from Urs's chest and slashes the head priest in the process. Immediately, the crowd runs for their lives, while Xena tells Satu to check on the demi-humans while she goes to call for backup. Satu goes to save the demi-humans, but the girls refuse, stating that Urs ordered them not to leave. The demon finally leaves Urs's body, thereby causing Urs to die, and this makes Satu realize that the girls don't have a master anymore since Urs is dead, so he breaks their chain. The demon starts to brag about how it plans to help its master, and it creates a nest. Xena and the soldiers approach them just then to help out, but the demon casts a spell to cause a blackout. Moments later, Satu finds himself in the demon master's labyrinth just as the girls also wake up and wonder what their fate is going to be. Satu goes to meet them and introduce himself, realizing that they don't have names. He names them Liza, Pochi, and Tama respectively. He also hands them ointment and fresh clothes to help with their wounds, but Liza refuses, stating that they are only slaves who don't need pity. Satu orders them to do it because he thinks it will be better to treat them that way, and they comply. After that, he feeds them and runs a scan on how they can get out of the labyrinth. While at it, he realizes that other people are stuck in other parts of the labyrinth, including Xena and the soldiers, and proceeds to check a passageway. Immediately, the girls stop him and beg him not to leave them, so he assures them that he is just going to check out how they can escape. He then checks their stats level and sees that only Liza can handle a weapon, so he hands her a dagger for protection, ordering her to stay still until he tells her to fight, which she agrees to. With that, they all walk together. Pochi alerts him that she can smell blood coming from up ahead, so he tells them to stay still while he peeps to check what's up. He then sees a monster feeding on a poor dude, causing him to wonder if it is best to return and wait for help. Liza interrupts his train of thought by suggesting that they either tiptoe past the monster or just attack it while it is still busy with its lunch. Impressed by her thought, he nods in approval and shoots the monster. The monster collapses from the impact, and the girls hype up his skills while he just sighs in relief. He then disassembles part of the monster to create a handle for his knife to form a spear, and after he is done, he sees Liza fondling the inner part of the monster for its core. Curious, he asks what she needs it for, and she explains that the monster's core is expensive to get, so they can sell it later for cash. He collects the core from her, hands her the spear, and suggests that she teach Pochi and Tama how to get a monster's core too. They continue to walk in the labyrinth, and Satu realizes from the girls' stats that they have still not gained any experience. He then instructs Tama to collect rocks, hoping that giving them tasks will help them level up their experience bar. When they come across a bug, he instructs Tama to throw the rocks she has acquired at it, and she complies. After Tama is done, he commands Liza to hit the bug, and when she does so, he shoots down the already defeated bug. He then tells Liza and Tama to go get the bug's core, while he lets Pochi know he will be conducting a separate training for her. Tama quickly hands Pochi her leftover rocks for support. Moments later, he and Pochi find another bug, so he tells Pochi to throw the rocks at it and return to the others when she runs out of rocks. Pochi complies, and when the angry bug tries to attack, Satu quickly kicks it, but a scared Pochi completely loses it and runs away, screaming for help. He quickly catches up with her and grabs her just as Tama and Liza approach them to ask what's up. He assures them that everything is fine, and turns to Pochi to advise her not to run away whenever she panics because it may land her an early trip to the Lord. Pochi agrees to the advice, and he pats her on the head to make her feel comfortable. They then continue their journey, attacking any monster they meet along the way. He also finds out that the girls' experience bar is increasing with each challenge, and when he sees that they are exhausted, he offers that they settle for a break. During the break, the girls feed on the meat they are given as if they've never tasted food in their lives, and after the girls are done, they sleep. A few hours later, they continue the challenge of attacking the monsters they meet along the way. While at it, he realizes that the girls can now handle a monster without supervision, which leaves him impressed. Liza asks him for permission to cook the monster they just eliminated, and he gives her the go-ahead. When the time to eat the meat arrives, he is skeptical about eating a monster he met not long ago, but tries a bite, only to see the girls staring at him. Realizing that they are waiting for his approval, he permits them to eat, and they begin to munch on it. After the meal, they rest on him for another round of sleeping, and he starts to wonder what he is going to do with them when they make it out of the labyrinth. Moments later, they all continue the journey until they see a slime. He quickly casts a fire spell at the slime, but the slime remains unfazed, which catches him by surprise. Liza offers to take over and hits the slime's core with her spear to defeat it. They then continue walking until they reach an area covered with cobwebs. He scans the webs and realizes that some people are trapped in them, so he instructs the others to let them cut the webs. A hot guy named Jin comes out of one of the webs and promises to reward them for saving him. Nidoran, another captive, also thanks them for their kindness, and when Satu offers his gratitude, he is interrupted by the jerk he once ran into at the market, talking about how he does not want demi-humans to free him from his web. Annoyed, Satu decides to leave the jerk behind, and when the jerk protests, Jin threatens to turn him into barbecue with his fire spell if his loud voice ever attracts the monsters to them. They then continue the journey until they reach a part where people are trying to escape from the slimes. Satu quickly tells Pochi and Tama to distract the slimes with fire, while Liza should be in charge of destroying the slimes. Immediately, the girls get to work, and the jerk starts to realize that the girls are not as bad as he thought. Satu finds Xena ambushed by a slime, and he rushes to save her. After he is done, Xena hugs him deeply because she is glad he is safe. Satu then introduces Xena to the girls, and even though Pochi and Tama are too shy to greet Xena, Liza steps forward to introduce herself and thanks Xena for saving them during the head priest situation. Shortly after, the demon appears, which catches everyone completely off guard because they were not expecting it. The demon then hypnotizes the girls, thereby causing them to see the soldiers as roasted chickens. Seeing this, Satu quickly knocks the girls out while Jin tries to help by casting a spell to burn the demon. However, the demon just enjoys the fire, which leaves Jin shocked because the spell he cast was his best one. Satu proceeds to fight the demon, but a beast suddenly approaches him to distract him, so he lures the beast to the underground lair and summons the holy sword to slice the beast into pieces. Since he does not want the others to know he can wield the holy sword, he changes his outfit and returns in a mask to attack the demon by throwing a rock at it. Seeing that it is going to lose the fight, the demon summons its master, and the others are shocked to see that it is a high-ranked demon. The high-ranked demon eats the remains of the other demon and casts a spell to clear out the people. Satu quickly reveals the holy sword, but seeing this just makes the high-ranked demon power up and cast a lightning spell at him. Satu resists the spell but realizes that the sword won't finish the demon off, so he settles for magic and summons a magic spear in exchange for the holy sword. He then uses the spear to fire shots at the demon. As he rushes towards the demon to finish it off, he summons a sharp knife, hoping he lands a direct hit and slices the demon with it. Immediately, the demon dies from the hit, while the knife he used glows to show that he is now a demon slayer. After they all escape from the labyrinth, Xena hugs him deeply, and he uses the chance to check out his stats, only to see that he has been given the hero title. He then registers the girls as his slaves. The slave registrar quickly tells him he has other slaves on the market, so a fragile-looking chick named Lulu introduces herself, and another chick named Arisa walks out to introduce herself. But Arisa's accent shocks Satu. To confirm his ears are not glitching, Satu moves closer to Arisa to tell her in his language that spiders are in her hair. Immediately, Arisa tells him to take the spiders off because she is scared of them, and it makes him realize that they are indeed from the same country. After he pays for Lulu and Arisa to be his slaves, he introduces himself to them, and the other girls follow suit. Arisa moves closer to check out Pochi and Tama because she has never seen slaves with odd ears before, and pulls them closer to her, eager to make them her besties. Satu watches their interaction and sighs in relief because Arisa does not hold anything against demi-humans like Pochi and Tama. A few minutes later, they all head back to the inn, only for Lulu's stomach to rumble because she is hungry. Seeing this, Satu offers that they grab something to eat. Pochi and Tama quickly tell him that they would love meat, but this surprises Arisa because slaves like themselves are supposed to be grateful that they are even being offered something to eat. Getting to the restaurant, they all thank Satu for the meal and begin to eat the hot, spicy food. As they continue to eat, Satu notices that Lulu and Arisa still have their slave clothes on, so he excuses himself to go shopping, and even though they insist on following him, he orders them to stay and enjoy their meal. Moments later, the girls show off the clothes he got them, and after letting them know it looks good on them, he takes them to the inn. At the inn, he asks if there are vacant rooms for the girls, only to learn that everywhere is full. He then tells Martha to take Pochi and Tama to his room while he camps out with the rest of the girls. Arisa tells him to chill and uses her psychic spell to tell Mosa to lend them a stable where they can stay for the night. Mosa quickly folds and gives them the go-ahead to use her stable, causing Arisa to brag to Satu that she is a useful investment in his harem clique. At the stable, Satu instructs Liza, Pochi, and Tama to be on their best behavior. He then returns to his room to share with Lulu and Arisa and notices that Lulu is shy around dudes. After changing into his nightwear, he turns to see an unclothed Lulu and Arisa waiting for him to service them, but he just stares at them dumbly. Arisa innocently asks when they can start, but Satu just prepares his bed and tells them to go to sleep. Immediately, Lulu starts to cry because she cannot believe her luck, and Satu covers her with a blanket, assuring her that she does not have to worry about being used as an object ever again. But Arisa sulks angrily in the corner because she misses being serviced. Later in the night, Satu wakes up from his sleep to see an unclothed Arisa on top of him. Arisa then kisses him, thereby leaving him stunned. After the kiss, he feels himself suddenly craving her melons, and he wonders if he is under her spell. So he hugs her and forbids her from using any form of magic. She quickly tries to stop him from talking, but he refuses and orders that she release any activated magic she has going on. She complies since she has no choice, which makes him sigh in relief. He then remembers that she used psychic magic earlier and questions why she attempted to use her psychic magic on him. She replies that she just wanted a taste of his sausage because she fell for him from the first moment she saw him. Hearing this surprises him, but she just continues to yap on about how he has the characteristics of her dream crush. She also adds that since he refused to service her, she decided to place him under a spell so that he would at least want to touch her. He then runs a background check on her to see if he can find out why she is acting crazy. But she takes it upon herself to introduce herself as a reincarnate of a woman from his country and asks if he also got reincarnated or was summoned as a hero. Confused, he asks her for the difference between the two, and she explains that people who died from their old world get reincarnated into the current world as newborns, while heroes are forced into the current world through magic. He then thinks of the time he first arrived in the world and realizes that neither scenario fits his situation. Curious, he asks how she became a slave if she ended up in the world as a reincarnate in the first place. The following morning, Martha barges into the room to let him know that Xena is around. Unfortunately for him, Xena notices the chicks with him and thinks he serviced them the previous night, so she leaves angrily. He quickly dresses up and jumps out of the window to prevent Xena from escaping. Getting to her, he lets her know that she misunderstood the situation and assures her that he only bought the girls to help with his daily business. He then hypes up her outfit to soften the tension, and she blushes in response. A few hours later, the two return from shopping, and Arisa happily welcomes them. He tells Arisa to go get the others, and as she runs off to deliver the message, he remembers when she opened up to him the previous night. Apparently, Arisa used to be a princess who tried to make her country wealthy. Though she was successful at first, suspicious things that made her country poor started occurring, thereby causing a neighboring country to take over her country. During the process, the neighboring country sold her and her country's people into slavery. Then one day, a demon appeared and destroyed the castle in which they were being held captive, so she escaped with Lulu until a slave trader picked them up. Arisa returns with the girls and lets him know that Lulu is absent because she is feeling sick. He then hands the girls money to go get stuff for themselves, and as they head out to get it, he watches them with pride. After the girls leave, Satu suggests that Xena should follow him to make some enquiries about inns that accept demi-humans because Lisa and the others can't stay in a stable forever. Xena becomes excited that he is including her in such an important task and quickly agrees to follow him. Getting to an office in charge of giving out odd jobs, a purple-haired chick named Nadi introduces herself to them as the officer in charge, so Satu asks her for any available property he can rent for demi-humans. Shortly after, Nadi takes them to a potential apartment and lets them know before checking it out that the previous owner was eliminated by some gangster in the area. Satu quickly refuses, so Nadi takes them to another house, but a brothel across the street discourages him. They then continue to check out other houses, but Satu's picky self does not find anyone to his taste. Due to that, Nadi tells him to check back later, because she has currently run out of options. Satu agrees and asks Xena if there is anywhere she would like to go. Nadi quickly interrupts them by suggesting that they go to the flea market that just opened. Satu then starts to look up the direction to the market while Nadi quickly whispers to Xena that a part of the market is a popular site for dates, thereby leaving Xena flushed. Moments later, a flushed Xena follows Satu to the market, only for them to be interrupted by the girls. Arisa shows off her new blonde hair, bragging about how she looks like Barbie. Curious, Satu asks Arisa for the reason behind her hair change, and she replies that she heard a rumor about how her former hair color is a bad omen. After that, Satu stumbles upon a reading card he thinks can help the girl's vocabulary, so he buys it from its seller. Arisa then suggests that they all go watch a play at the market square, so Satu apologizes to Xena for letting the girls join their little hangout, and Xena assures him that she doesn't mind. Satu and Xena stop at the jewelry stall soon after to check out some earrings, but Arisa interrupts them to request her own pair of earrings. Xena drops the earring she was checking out because she did not want to be a burden to Satu, just as the girls drag her to another stall. So Satu quickly uses the chance to buy the earrings she dropped. At the market square, they all settle to watch the play, but Pochi and Tama start to loudly complain about how they want to eat meat. Satu realizes that the girls are not interested in the play, and when he turns to see if Liza is watching, he realizes that she's just pretending to pay attention. However, he does not blame them, because the play is a tragic real-life story of how a wizard dude named Zen had a fling with a princess named Liltiana. Due to this, Liltiana's arranged fiancé, Muno, eliminated all of Zen's extended family out of jealousy. Liltiana's attendant also took out Zen, thereby causing Liltiana to angrily take her life as a form of revenge. However, Zen's body reincarnates as an undead and takes revenge on Muno and his squad. Before he could finish off Muno, a holy knight suddenly appeared and took him out. Muno then transformed into a completely different person and served the holy knight until he died because of a curse placed on him. After the play, Satu calls a lady's attention to the handkerchief she accidentally dropped. The lady quickly recognizes him as the dude with the girl's craving for meat during the play and asks him for his thoughts on the play. He agrees the play is terrible, only to learn that Zen actually eliminated Muno before the holy knight got to him, and the script only got changed because the nobles didn't like it. He also learns that Muno actually kidnapped the princess to marry her, despite knowing she is in love with Zen, and he becomes relieved that the play only looked terrible because the script was tampered with. A few hours later, Satu and Zena take a stroll, only for them to run into some of Zena's colleagues. Zena then learns that they are coming from a battle with some ants, and she starts to heal them of their wounds, while they talk about how they believe a group of Werit cavalry led by a guy in a red helmet that they came across at the border must be responsible for luring the ants. After Zena is done with the healing, the girls interrupt them with an ant that they caught while hunting for meat. Satu quickly scans the ant and sees that more of the ants are approaching the city. He then gives out instructions to the girls, but before he can update Zena's colleagues on what is going on, the ants approach the city. Though the city's protective barrier stops the ants from gaining entry into the city, some stubborn goats among the ants break through the barrier. The rest of the ants enter through the city's gate, causing the soldiers to forcefully close the gate, but the ants still enter through the space underneath the gate. Immediately, the soldiers shoot at the ants just as Satu and the girls join in the fight to stop the ants. While at it, Satu realizes that Nadi's building is open, so he rushes inside and smacks the ant he sees. He then sees that Nadi is stuck underground, and while thinking of how to help her, Balanin, Nadi's manager, suddenly uses his spell to help Nadi up. After the fight dies down, Nadi introduces Bolanin to Satu, who asks about Bolanin's origin. Satu then learns that Bolanin is a forest spirit elf, after which he heads out of the building to see that the soldiers are already burning the captured ants. Zena sees him and tells him that she will be joining the other soldiers to patrol the city, so he bids her farewell. Later in the evening, Satu and the girls settle for dinner, and Mosa gives the girls extra servings for their tremendous work in defeating the ants. As they eat, Satu notices that Lulu is still not feeling better, so he heads to the pharmacy store after dinner to get her some meds. On the way, he suddenly notices some shadow monsters and quickly shoots them dead. When he is done, he sees the two people that the monsters initially held captive and rushes to them, only to see that one of them is a rat wearing a red helmet. Shortly after, he sneaks them into Nadi's building since it is already late at night and drops them inside. However, his sound alerts Nadi and Bolanin, so he updates them on what went down. Bolanin then casts a healing spell on the red helmet rat while Satu shows them the other person, who happens to be an elf named Mia. Nadi is surprised to see that Mia is an elf, but a confused Mia just looks at Satu and calls him pretty. The rat coughs out blood just then, thereby causing Nadi to run out to look for help. Satu quickly rushes after her because it is too late for a lady to walk alone. The following morning, Arisa accuses Satu of spending the night at the girl's place when she could have put him through different positions all night, but an exhausted Satu just drops his jacket on her head to shut her up. Still, she removes the jacket to demand an explanation, so he explains how he ran into some people when out to get medications for Lulu. Arisa's imagination runs wild as she starts to rant about how he is talking about the title of the video on the wrong side of the internet. Her loud voice wakes Lulu from her sleep, so Satu hands Lulu the medications he got her, and Lulu thanks him for his kindness. A few hours later, Satu visits Nadi to check on Mia and the rat, and he learns that Mia is still resting after passing out from exhaustion. Nadi also explains that a mana potion would help speed up her recovery, but it is expensive to get, so she suggests they take Mia to a place rich with mana. Satu then tries to scan for a place rich with mana, only to be interrupted by noise coming from upstairs, so he tells Nadi about it. Upstairs, Nadi and Satu check on Mia. Satu uses the chance to run a background check on Mia, and he sees that she has a gift of seeing spirits. So when Nadi excuses herself to go prepare food for Mia, a curious Satu asks Mia for the description of the spirit she sees. Mia blankly describes the spirit she sees as Fluffy, which makes him realize that Mia may not be the chatty type. Shortly after Mia finishes her meal, Nadi walks out of the room with the leftover dish. Satu proceeds to follow her, only to be stopped by Mia, who wants him to stay because she low-key enjoys his company. A few hours later, Satu returns to the inn and sees the girls reading the educational cards he got them the previous day. Impressed, he quizzes Pochi and Tama on animal description, only to realize that they call all animals meat. Arisa, their supposed teacher, quickly defends herself by stating that it is hard to tell them they are wrong because of how confident they are in their answers. After that, they settle for lunch, where he tells the girls about Mia. The girls eagerly express their interest in meeting Mia, so he promises to take them to Mia after they finish lunch. Shortly after, they visit Mia and begin to yap about how beautiful she looks. Seeing that they are getting on well, Satu proceeds to take his leave, but Mia stops him once again, causing him to wonder if his stat includes a magnet for sick elves modifier. Despite that, Satu goes to meet with Nadi, who asks him for his carriage since he claims to be a merchant. Satu tells her the lies he told the others about how his horse escaped with his wares, and she recommends a new carriage he can get because the carriage's current owner is retiring from merchant work. Satu declines the offer since he can't drive a carriage, but Lulu, who has been listening to their conversation, interrupts him to let him know she can drive one. Due to that, Satu agrees to get one and hands Nadi coins, which he feels are enough to get a carriage. The following day, Satu and the girls get together to prepare for camping, and while at it, Pochi and Tama rush to Satu, who is chopping some wood, to tell him that the kettle they put on the fire is upset with them. Satu lets them know the kettle is just whistling to let them know the water is boiling. Arisa then helps them with the kettle and explains that when water gets hot, it turns into a white, strong smoke that lets the kettle's lid lift up. The following day, Satu completes the signing of his new carriage, and Arisa suggests they take Mia home with the carriage. Satu sees that it is not a bad idea and suggests they talk about it with Balanin first, but for now, he just wants Lulu to teach him how to drive. Moments later, Lulu rides in the carriage with Satu by her side. Satu can sense that she is tense, so he strikes up a conversation with her about Arisa. Immediately, Lulu loosens up and starts to talk about the times Arisa has stressed her out. Thanks to that, the driving lesson becomes easier, thereby causing Satu to improve his skills in driving. As they continue the lesson till late in the evening, Satu suddenly feels something strange and sees a strange owl watching them from afar. When they eventually return home, the girls welcome Satu like they haven't seen him in days, and even Mia joins them to welcome him. Satu quickly asks if Mia feels okay to walk by herself, and Arisa assures him that Balanin got her some magic potion to make her feel better. Arisa then suggests they have something delicious to celebrate Mia's recovery, so Mia lets them know she's craving honey buns. Immediately, the other girls show interest, which makes Satu realize that they probably got to Mia. Still, he orders Lulu and Liza to go get some, only for him to get the strange feeling he felt earlier, and see the owl staring at him once again. Getting into Nadi's building, he learns from Nadi that the rat is feeling better, so he goes to confirm it and sees the rat with Balanin. The rat explains that Mia was abducted by wizards from her village and was imprisoned in a cell. However, she escaped and ran into the rat and his friends, who offered to take her to Balanin since he is also an elf like her. Unfortunately, the wizards sent ants to the city, thereby spoiling the rat's plan. Satu feels Balanin may know more about the abduction, but he refuses to press further. Just then, they hear sounds coming from downstairs, and Balanin rushes out with Satu following suit. Turns out the girls were just scared of the recurring thunder. As the girls start to rant about how crazy thunder is, Satu notices Tama staring at something, and he sees it is the owl from earlier, suddenly transforming into a purple-eyed wizard. While the others stare at the wizard in surprise, the rat recognizes it as the wizard after Mia and rushes to attack it. However, the wizard uses psychic magic to stop the rat and distract the others. Satu starts to think of what he can do to counter the magic, only to see Arisa trying to stop the wizard with her own psychic magic. Satu quickly switches on his fear resistance skill and runs a background check on the wizard. He realizes that the wizard's name is Zen and figures out that he is the guy from the play he watched at the market square. Zen talks about his interest in taking Mia with him, but Satu interrupts him to let him know it will be impossible. Annoyed, Zen proceeds to cast a poison spell, but Satu suggests they settle the issue without violence and respectfully asks Zen to leave. Zen refuses, so Satu marches forward to give Zen a punch, only for Zen to turn into a shadow and grab Satu's leg with his shadow whips, thereby causing Satu to hang midair. Realizing that Zen can control shadows, Satu tells Zen to thank his stars for being able to control them because he would have been on the next bus to the afterlife. Annoyed that the monster has turned Satu into a ceiling fan, Arisa casts a spell at Zen, so Zen reveals his face to show them that they are dealing with an undead. Zen then proceeds to grab Arisa with his shadow whips, but Satu shoots them just as Balanin steps forward to defend Arisa. Satu uses the chance to free himself from Zen's shadow whips and slices them off. This surprises Zen because only a magic item can do that, but Arisa just keeps a straight face in response. While the rest of the girls continue to hide like scaredy cats, Arisa thinks of ways to defeat Zen. Mia tells Arisa not to sweat it, but Arisa refuses and lets her know she is only fighting because Satu wants to set her free from whatever trouble she is in. Satu also moves closer to point his gun at Zen to distract him after seeing that Arisa is cooking up a crazy spell. As they continue to talk, Arisa suddenly tells Satu to dodge while she launches a powerful spell in Zen's direction. Unfortunately, Zen dusts it while Arisa collapses weakly from the effect of casting such a powerful spell. Zen then tells Satu to warn Arisa to never try such stunts against him again, after which he returns to his crib while grabbing Mia along with him. Immediately, Satu orders Lulu and Liza to tend to the injured ones, promising to get Mia back. After that, he teleports himself into a different dimension and finds himself in Zen's crib. Surprised, Zen questions how he was able to break through the barrier because only a proper hero can reach his crib. However, Satu ignores his question and rushes to get Mia. So an annoyed Zen sends him outside his crib with a flick of his finger. Confused as to what is going on, Satu stares at a giant tree in front of him and figures it may be a puzzle Zen wants him to solve. Checking his map to confirm Mia is stuck somewhere in the tree, he rushes towards it with determination until he reaches a temple originally meant for elves. Inside the temple, he slashes any monster that comes his way and continues to walk until he reaches a magical forest where he sees an unclothed elf named Dryad. Seeing her, Satu becomes relieved because he feels that defeating Dryad will open a shortcut for him to escape if he is to go by gaming logic. Instead of fighting him, Dryad checks him out to see that he is a piece of cake and offers to be his woman. Satu immediately refuses because there is no way he is cracking an elf he just met, so Dryad grabs him to kiss him in order to level up her magic points since they are running low. After the kiss, he makes a mental note to forget the kiss ever happened, while Dryad opens up a pathway for him to pass. He follows the path and ends up in a room where he sees an old note from an elf who wrote about how he created the crib for elves who wish to find the will to survive any danger they are faced with because he believes elves are still going to lead the world's race one day. Seeing the writer's name, Satu realizes that Mia and Bolanin are descendants of the writer and wonders if Zen wants to take Mia to the crib because of that. He then returns to Dryad to ask if there is a portal that can transport him to another room, so Dryad points at a fairy ring he can step on and creates a spell to send him to a different room. As a result of the spell, he finds himself in front of 3 identical, heavy, milk chicks staring at him. The chicks tell him to wait and start to warm up for their fight while he uses the chance to run a background check on them. Seeing that they are homunculi, he starts to wonder why they are acting like they share a single brain cell competing for 3rd place, since they belong to a race that is known for its intelligence. They interrupt his thought by pointing a sword at him to welcome him to the next level of the puzzle. One of them continues to yap on about how he needs to defeat the Guardian in their chamber to move forward, but he just wishes she would stop talking because her annoying voice is beginning to piss him off. The chick introduces him to Gollum, the Guardian he is to face, and as Gollum marches towards him, he shoots it down with his weapon. One of the chicks then decides to take matters into her own hands by attacking him, but he dodges the attack and knocks her out. After that, he walks into another magic forest that is similar to Dryad's, only to see that the elf in the current one is almost dried up. He quickly pours water on her, and the elf suddenly grabs the pouch from his hand to drink it herself. During the process of drinking, she becomes healthy, and he learns that she shares the same memories as Dryad because of their divine connection as spirits. He then requests that she transport him to another room, and she complies. Soon after, he finds himself in a passageway and takes out the bugs he finds on his way till he eventually gets to Zen's crib. At the crib, he requests that Mia be handed to him, but Zen refuses to release her and challenges him to a duel instead, promising to reward him with a holy sword if he wins. Zen then summons multiple homunculi to take him out before escaping with Mia. Satu summons his spear to fight with the homunculi and attacks them in a clean sweep. Though Satu has the upper hand, the homunculi refuse to give up because they have been brainwashed by Zen to always keep fighting for his honor till their last breath. Still, Satu takes them out, and the last chick pleads with him to make Zen's wish come true before taking her last breath. After that, he marches towards Zen, who hands him the holy sword as his reward for defeating the homunculi. He then asks Zen for what he truly wants, and Zen lets him know that he is looking for a hero who will put an end to his miserable life. Zen opens up about how he got reborn into a respectable household after having a bad first life, but everything changed when a noble who fell in love with his wife imprisoned him and executed him. To make matters worse, God showed him a vision of how all his family members, his wife included, were brutally taken out. Blinded by rage, he turned the remains of his family members into undead, and they seek out revenge on those who caused their demise. After he was done with his revenge, he decided to return to join his wife, but God refused to allow him to die. Zen then pleads with Satu to use the sword with him to strike him. Remembering what the last homunculi he executed told him, he summons the sword and uses it to strike Zen, thereby causing an excited Zen to disappear, leaving his wedding ring behind in the process. After that, Zen's built-in system announces that it has entered self-destruct mode and advises him to get out. He quickly rushes to Mia's side, gives her a potion to wake her from her unconscious state, and assures her that she is safe. He then asks if she can shut down the crib's self-destruct sequence, only to find out that she has no idea how to go about it. Determined to save everyone in the crib, he takes Mia to where the defeated homunculi are and instructs her to escape with them because he still has one more person to save. She complies, and he rushes to get the homunculi he knocked out earlier just as the whole crib starts to collapse. After getting her, he rushes to Dryad and asks for help on how to escape from the tree. Dryad asks that he level up her magic point, so he kisses her and she transports them to the surface. At the surface, Dryad tells him to leave her behind because she belongs to the forest, so he thanks her and escapes with the homunculi. On the way, he runs past the sea, using his fire shots to stop the tidal salt generated from Zen's collapsed crib from engulfing him. He then continues to run until he gets to the other side, where he watches Zen's crib completely collapse. A few hours later, Satu meets up with the girls, who hug him deeply because they thought they had lost him. Seeing Arisa tear up, he remembers what Zen told him before his disappearance about how he must restrain her from using her powerful spell so she does not encounter the same fate as Zen. However, an oblivious Arisa just tells Satu to promise never to do anything crazy again, and he apologizes to her in response. All the girls then start to cry, causing him to be relieved that the girls actually do love him. Shortly after, Mia thanks him for saving her by granting him the greatest gratitude he can ever ask for. A few hours later, the homunculi also express their gratitude to him for sparing their lives. He lets them know that Zen has passed on and gives them the rings Zen left behind. They then decide to serve him as their new master, but hearing this makes Arisa jealous because she does not like sharing. One of the homunculi tells Satu that they will need to first head to Zen's wife's grave to deliver the wedding ring. However, the homunculi insist on having one of them stay behind, so they settle for a game of rocks, paper, scissors to determine who will be. One eternity later, one of them came forward to introduce herself to Satu as the one that will be staying behind. Satu welcomes her and names her Nana since she is nameless, while Arisa continues to boil with anger. Together, they all return to the city. At the city, Satu lies to Iona about what actually went down with Zen, just as Zena rushes in to see if Satu is okay. Seeing him in the flesh, she starts to cry profusely because she has been hearing crazy rumors about his disappearance. After she calms down, she apologizes for crying, but Satu lets her know she is entitled to her feelings. He then hands her the earrings he got from their last visit to the market, and upon recognizing them, she thanks him for his thoughtfulness. He also lets her know that he will be transporting Mia back to her village, but her brain interprets it as him trying to move out of the city. He quickly assures her that he will return, promising to serve her any hot gists he finds during the course of his journey. He also makes a pinky promise with her to show his seriousness. The following day, Satu heads out with the girls to return Mia to her village while their friends bid them farewell for the long journey ahead. On the way, Zena suddenly rushes towards them with her horse because she has something to tell Satu. After getting his attention, she tells him that her brother has agreed to let her do her wish once he becomes the family head by springtime, so she promises to join him by spring. He then bids her farewell after their discussion with a sad smile on his face, but Arisa tells him to be happy because he will have her and the other girls by his side. A few hours later, Satu and the girls settle for a lunch break. As they eat, Satu notices that Mia is a picky eater and asks why, only to learn that Mia is prohibited from eating meat as an elf. After their meal, Satu sees Liza making pancakes and asks for the reason, since they just finished eating, and she replies that she is only making them as snacks they can munch on when they continue their journey. Arisa offers to store the pancakes in the magic box in her setup, and as Satu checks out the box, he wonders if he also has that function in his setup. Shortly after, they store their food containers back in the carriage and feed the horses for the journey ahead. As they all continue working, Satu stares at Mia and sees that she looks better compared to the time she was abducted. Arisa soon interrupts his train of thought to suggest that they touch up the straw cushions in the carriage because the cushions make her feel itchy, and he agrees to help her. When they all settle down to work on the cushions, Arisa begins to dish out instructions on how they can go about it, only to be shocked to see that he is actually a pro at sewing. After that, he makes dolls for all the girls before they eventually continue their journey. A few hours later, they stop for another break from traveling, and he uses the chance to give Tama and Pochi some training lessons by giving them a task to survey the area. The girls comply, only for Arisa to follow them because she also wants to join in the fun. Immediately, he tells them to be careful, only to be interrupted by Mia playing a melody with a leaf. Impressed by her skills, he moves closer to her to hype her up, which leaves her flushed. Soon after, Satu and the rest of the girls sit with Mia to learn how to make sound with a leaf. Satu tries his luck but fails woefully, causing the girls to look at him with pity. Refusing to be put in that position, he quickly upgrades his musical skills and plays something melodious. Unfortunately, Arisa walks up to them just then to ask why Satu sounds like he hates music. Mia also grabs the leaf from him, thereby leaving him disappointed, but Lulu encourages him to practice to become perfect. After that, Arisa takes Satu to a mountain where she shows him a collapsed stone torii that shows that the area used to be a shrine. Satu then starts to feel like he has been there before, and a memory from his past life suddenly floods his mind. The memory makes him think that the stone torii was near his grandfather's house then. Arisa calls him out of his trance and accuses him of daydreaming at a crucial time like that, However, he ignores her and continues to think about the memory. He realizes that the stone torii in his past are red and different from the current one, so the current one may be part of the game. He then scans the area and sees that the stone torii leads to a travel gate, but he ignores it and returns to meet the others to continue their journey. Getting back, Pochi happily shows off the prey she caught while hunting, and Liza offers to cook it. Satu gives her the go-ahead, only for Tama to return with her own prey. Arisa collects the prey from Tama to fondle it, but Satu tells her to be careful because the prey is actually a baby monster. Unfortunately, the prey escapes from her hand and runs for its life to avoid being dinner, thereby leaving Tama sad. Arisa quickly apologizes to Tama for not being careful with the prey, while Tama just apologizes to Satu for doing a bad job. Satu assures her that it is fine as long as she is safe, but she refuses to relent and promises to get a bigger prey next time. Moments later, they settle down to eat the pancake Liza made earlier, but Satu becomes worried when he sees Mia finding it hard to take a bite. The following morning, they continue their journey, and Satu uses the chance to check out his inventory and settle for a book that contains all that needs to be known about magic. He busies himself with the concept of magic, only to realize later on that he has been fondling Nana's melons during the process. Arisa angrily removes his hand, while Mia cautions him to keep his cultured ways far from the group. Satu quickly apologizes, claiming that he got too engrossed in the book of spells he was reading. Intrigued, Arisa asks if he is a researcher of spells, so he lets her know he was just trying to see if he could come up with new spells to cast. Suddenly, he notices some rats in the carriage behind them, and he remembers the rat dude telling him after Zen's saga that he was going to look for his friends. With that, he orders his carriage to be stopped, and he goes to negotiate with the driver of the other carriage. The rats, who were initially on their way to being sold into slavery, also rush out to greet Mia, while Satu decides that they should camp for the night since it is already getting late. The rat dude then thanks him for saving them and lets him know that they will not be spending time with them because of something they have to do, so he assures them it's cool. Later in the night, the girls sleep in the tent they set up after the stressful day, while Satu uses the quietness to check out his storage features and how he can work with them. The following morning, the girls settle for breakfast that Satu prepared, and even Mia enjoys the meal. After breakfast, they continue their journey, only to be stopped by the rat dude and his friends. The rat dude appreciates him for saving them once again and shows them the graveyard of the rats that lost their life while protecting Mia. Mia then pays her last respects to the deceased rats while the others watch her from afar. Later in the evening, Satu orders food at a restaurant. He sees the other customers arguing about how they think they are being cheated with order, so he calms them down, offering to pay for all their food. When he finishes his meal and proceeds to leave, one of the attendants stops him and escorts him upstairs so he can have her for dessert in exchange for cool cash. As he continues his journey with the girls the following morning, Arisa starts to accuse him of being a cheater after hearing of his previous night's rendezvous. Shortly after, they stop in front of a crook named Dosen, bullying a poor couple. Dosen then glares at them like they have some kind of unspoken beef before zooming off. Satu wonders what the dude's problem is, and Liza reminds him that they once came into contact with him when he tried to steal the ants' core that they gathered during the ants saga at the city. Satu then goes to check on the couple and hands them a magic potion to heal the husband's wound. When he returns to the carriage, Arisa tells him he needs to tone down his Mr. Nice Guy antics, as they may also need the potions. Satu sees a point in what she says, so he checks out his storage feature to see if he can make magic potions from scratch. Moments later, he settles down to prepare them while following instructions from a manual in his setup feature. As he reaches the final stage of the making, he realizes that he is about to run out of some of the materials, so he scans the area for a nearby town where he can get materials and makes a mental note to check it out the following day. The following morning, Satu scans the map in the area and realizes that it has a lot of blank areas, so he makes a mental note to check out the areas to see if they are a threat. Getting to the nearby town, he and Liza ask for directions to get to the magic shop. When they get to the shop, they stumble upon a cranky guy heading out of the shop with his slave carrying some goods, and they wonder what his problem is. Hay then enter the shop, where they meet Lynn Maris, the shop attendant. After hearing their request, she informs them that the previous customer already bought all the stocks available and she couldn't refuse to sell because he had the seal that bound her to sell to him. Outside the shop, Satu tells Liza to go join the others because he would love to visit a place alone, and she nods in response. Moments later, he returns to the magic shop dressed like the cranky dude to place an order, and an oblivious Len Maris sells them to him, thinking he is the original guy. On his way back, he stores the items in his storage setup pending the time he will need them, and continues to walk in the forest until he gets an eerie feeling that he just crossed a barrier. He then scans the area and sees that he is in the Forest of Illusions. Just then, a pocket-sized chick named Iini orders her knights to attack him, and as he dodges their attack, he apologizes for trespassing into their territory. Still, Iini casts a spell at him, and when he blocks it, she cries out in annoyance. Satu tries to calm her, only for a giant bird to land on top of her. Satu stares in shock just as a witch emerges from the bird and approaches him to welcome him to the forest, introducing herself as the witch who watches over the forest. After that, she takes him to her apartment and refers to him as a Balanan emissary. Satu wonders if it is because of the bell he got from the rat dude and quickly clarifies that he is not an emissary. Just then, Ine, who happens to be the witch's apprentice, walks in to apologize to Satu, and Satu assures her that it's fine. He then learns that they make and deliver magic potions to the count of the town, so he quickly expresses interest in learning from them, and the witch promises to teach him. A few hours later, Satu bids the witch farewell, and the witch casts a lightning spell to help him to not get lost again, so he thanks her and follows the path. When he eventually returns to the girls, an angry Arisa demands why he always loves to wander around like a restless undead searching for his forgotten dignity. The following day, Satu meets with a potter who can help him make vials for his magic potions. However, the potter explains that a lot of regulations in his town prohibit him from doing that, but if he does not mind, he could come to his workshop to learn pottery. Before he can reply, he overhears a guy tell his friend about his plans to create his own territory in the area, just as Arisa, Mia, and Nana approach him to let him know that his playtime is over, so he should follow them home. The following morning, the girls accompany him to the potter's workshop, only for him to stop in his tracks when he sees his map showing that Ina is being chased. He then tells the girls that someone he knows is in trouble before running off, and the girls run after him. Getting to Ina, Satu notices that the bad guys are after the potions she is supposed to deliver to the count, so he tells Ina to keep going while he takes out the bad guys. Ina complies, but soon crashes into some woods while being transported because of the force she was using to run. Immediately, Satu runs to check on her and sees that most of the potions have broken from the impact. After counting the remaining potions, he realizes that only 120 potions survived out of 300. He then tells a crying Ina to let them deliver the potions that survived to the count first. Getting to the count's office, Birkins, the count, lets them know that he will only be accepting 300 potions from them. Satu notices Birkins' second-in-command is Dosan and realizes that it is going to be harder than he thought. Still, Satu requests more time to replace the lost potions, promising to deliver them by the end of the day, but Birkins refuses because he only wants the witch's potions. Immediately, Satu senses that Birkins wants the plan to fail, and he finally recognizes his voice as that of the guy he overheard during his meeting with the potter. Satu wonders if Birkins plans to get rid of the Forest of Illusions to achieve his plan, so he levels up his negotiation skills to stop him. He then tells Birkins that no part of the deal he made with the witch binds him to only accept the one made by her, so Birkins gives him the go-ahead to deliver his potions, stating that they must be as good as the witch's. After the meeting, the rest of the girls meet with Satu, holding the ingredients that would be used to prepare the potion, but a worried Ene tells them it would be impossible to meet the deadline because there are no available vials. Shortly after, they visit the potter, who completely loses it when he hears the number of vials they need before the end of the day. Satu assures him that they only need his workshop and kiln to work with, so he gives them the go-ahead, believing that they must have a valid reason. He also agrees to help them out, and Satu expresses gratitude. When they get to work, the girls start to complain about how hard it is to mold a clay pot, while Satu busies himself with molding the clay into perfect vials. However, the potter lets him know that they will have to wait for 5 days to let the vials dry up properly before moving to the next step. Satu immediately starts to think of the fastest ways to get the vials to dry up. When he is done thinking, he lets Mia use her spell to dry up a vial, and it becomes so perfect that it makes the potter sing Mia's praises. The potter then announces that he will be moving on to the next step and encourages the others to continue working. They all continue working for hours till they wait for the finished vials in the oven to cool down. Just then, Dosan and his thugs walk up to them to accuse them of illegally making potion vials. The potter lies that he is just having pottery lessons, but they refuse to fall for his lies and proceed to destroy his oven. Moments later, Arisa stares at the broken vials sadly, while Dosan and his thugs walk off victoriously. The potter lets Satu know there is nothing he can do anymore, but Satu just apologizes for his destroyed oven. After that, he turns to Ina and tells her that he would need the bird she always carries around to send a message to the witch. Shortly after, Satu opens up to Arisa that the broken vials are just fake, and he has the real ones stored in his storage setup. With that, they go to tell the others the news, and they become happy that their efforts were not wasted. At Birkins' office, Satu presents Birkins with a delivery note to sign, which leaves him confused because he thought they had nothing to deliver. Birkins' guard then confirms that they've delivered all 300 potions, and an annoyed Dawson asks how they were able to pull it off. Satu innocently tells him never to underestimate the power of friendship and hard work, but this just makes Dawson angrily grind his teeth. Birkins stares at Satu intently before going to stare at his window because he does not want to sign the note. Just then, Kuhano, the count, arrives and offers to sign the note. Turns out, the witch got the message Satu sent, and she quickly arrived at the town to tell Kuhano about Birkins' greed. Kuhanu expresses his disappointment in Birkins and strips him of his title immediately. Instead of showing remorse, Birkins casts a spell at Kuhanu, who blocks it and calls him foolish for thinking such a petty spell would work on him. Kuhanu then draws his sword to slice Birkins, but Satu gets to Birkins first and knocks him out. Satu explains that he does not want the girls to see such violence, and Kuhanu agrees with his point. The following day, the potter thanks Satu and the girls for getting him a new oven from Kuhanu. The witch also thanks Satu for coming to their aid, and Ina hands him a magic lantern as a token of her gratitude. After this, he and the girls bid them farewell and leave the town. The following morning, Nana strips on top of a sleepy Satu and offers him her body. Just then, Arisa interrupts them to greet Satu, only to completely lose it when she sees Nana trying to play her role. Immediately, she gets between them, only to find out that Nana is just experiencing some malfunction in using her skills, so she needs someone to place a hand near her heart to allow magic to flow in. Mia quickly interrupts and suggests he touch her back instead, and Arisa confirms that the logic makes sense as he only needs to touch near her heart. Satu then complies, and Nana starts sounding like she's handling a big sausage, which only makes Arisa's jealousy increase. In the meantime, Zena rushes to tell her friends that Satu sent her a letter and reads it to them. When she returns home at night, she reads the letter again and starts to miss him even more. If you watched this anime recap and made it to the end, let us know in the comments if you would survive a week in a parallel world. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more recaps like this.